We are Southern Illinois.
Around the arc they go. Sykes downhill to the rack, two-handed monster slam. We have liftoff, Davion Sykes.
It's time for Saluki basketball.
Right, reverse out Rollins. Transition three on its way. Bullseye! Rollins, the league bay with 9. And right now it's Southern 26, Evansville 9.
Now, here is the voice of the Salukis, Luke Martin.
Saluki Nation, we welcome you back into the Wells Production Studio for our Saluki Radio Basketball Podcast as we preview the Sunday matchup with the Bradley Braves. It's actually a doubleheader. The Saluki men will be the first game of that doubleheader, as SIU women will also take on the Bradley Braves on Sunday. So it is a Saluki versus Braves matchup in Banterra on Sunday. Of course, we're going to preview that matchup. Brian Wardle, the head coach of the Bradley Braves, will join us. We were able to interview him prior to when the Salukis took on Evansville on Thursday, and I think our fans are really going to enjoy this version. You know, like when I say this version, I mean Coach Wardle, when you're out in those games, man, you are competing and you're trying to win those games, and your teams want to resemble those attitudes. And man, his teams have no doubt resembled his attitude in terms of toughness and grit on the defensive side of the floor. But we'll get into that more with Coach Wardle later on. Let's welcome in our Hall of Famer, Rodney Watson, as he's from his studio there in Evansville. And man, what a win last night for the Salukis, Coach Watson. That's where we're going to start off and dive into it. 86-60. Southern used a 22-0 run in the early portions of that first half when they led at 11-9 to seize control. And from that point on, the game never really felt like it was in doubt.
10 shutouts in a row combined in that early part of the first half with what my naked eye says is the most efficient offensive end of the floor. Southern, I commented at one media timeout, the 11-minute mark, that they were scoring just under 2 points in offensive possession in the first 15 possessions of the game. And look, if you score at a number of 1.25 points of possession, you're going to win a national championship. That's what UConn and Kansas, when you look at what the efficiency of how the most elite of the elite do on the offensive end, and they're also doing it over the course of a season. And it's not even 1.25. It's usually more like 1.18, 1.2. But in a very small possession area, 15 possessions, gosh, Southern they were shooting the ball well. They were shooting with great instinctual confidence. By that, I mean there was zero hesitation in Drew Steffi. There was zero hesitation in Rollins Aligbe. Is that the all-be-all to making three-pointers? No, but on that night, they were not concerned about, is this a good shot? Am I being closed out? Am I going to get contested? They had already figured that out before the ball touched their hand. So their instinct was, when the ball gets to my hand, this is a really good shot, and the time and score. And when it goes in, everything's magical, right, Luke? I mean, it all works perfectly. But then you see guys going inside. I thought it was one of Prince Aligbe's best overall game where he didn't overuse his dribble in the low post. I complimented him after we got off the air about the last three, I believe it was, that Drew made at the top of the key in the second half, where Prince had caught the ball in the low post. Too often we see him dribbling too much to create a basket when there's too much congestion in the lane, and it doesn't usually work out well. On that particular play, he looked over his right shoulder, he looked over his left shoulder. Hughes had him blocked off. He took one dribble up the floor, what we call centering the ball, getting the ball in the center of the floor, which wasn't exactly, but close enough. He made one pass to what was the right wing. The second pass finds Drew at the top of the key. It was a three-point basket. And am I overblowing that possession? No. To me, so many of those nearly 68 possessions Southern had on offense were very similar to that one, where Southern didn't over-dribble. And therefore, they had 11 turnovers. They had a glitch when Coach got into the rotation there after that first 10, 11 minutes. They had a little bit of a rotation where they had some non-shooters in there. That one time I talked about having Mayo and I think it was Jalen on the floor, along with Prince and Picard and Sykes. Three guys that aren't perimeter shooters. They're not scorers. They're not. They're not. And that led to some quirky offense, but by and large, overall, the really excellent combination. And man, let's not forget, it's easy to say, come on, man, Evansville's not any good. Evansville is very skilled. A.J. Casey plays for anyone in this league, and I'll go down the list. I mean, Alex Hemingway got cracked in the nose on one of Prince's power baskets inside, and he stopped playing. But Alex Hemingway was a huge reason for Clemson's success under Brad Burnell, an Evansville native also. I can go down the list. I thought I was so impressed with Bryce last night and how they used him early when they went at Kelron inside on an isolation. He got the first 2 baskets of the game. If anything, they probably should have looked for that a little bit more often. But Moeller is a really terrific player. Hughes is a very good player. They're dealing with injuries as well. But all that said, Southern played well against a team that has talent.
You mentioned Bryce Quinnett, 20 points in the game, 8 for 12 from 2. He made 1 3 as well. Josh Hughes, he was in double figures with 14 points. And look, there is not going to be very many games this year, and I haven't gone through, and I'm sure our friend Jevin Redmond could probably tell us off the top of his head because he covers the team this year. There aren't very many games where you're going to see A.J. Casey and Leif Moeller both go 0 from 3, not make a 3. A.J.'s not necessarily a consistent three-point shooter, but that's a shot that he can at least make 1 typically, if not more, in a game. Both in single digits. Leif Moeller held the 4 points, A.J. Casey 7 points. And then if you throw in Alex Hemingway, he only made 2 threes in the game, and he was held to single digits. Not very often you see those 3 guys combined with all single digits. That was a very impressive defensive job, and specifically for Damian Mayo on Leif Moeller for the game, because he really frustrated Leif Moeller for all night long. You could tell that Moeller was just never able to get into any sort of rhythm.
International recruiting is going to continue to be big. I mean, international basketball is outstanding. They both in Europe and throughout all the continents, especially though in Europe and especially in areas like Germany where Moeller's from, the fundamentals of the game have been just really delved into. And a lot has to do, Luke, with the dream team of 92 Olympics and how they really made basketball even more popular. I'll tell you, and I'm not trying to be funny, the Globetrotters were a big part of that, their international travel. But man, Leif Moeller came into this league. Everyone in the league knew who he was. His plus minus last night was minus 39. That is a staggering number. This guy is really good, and he's a guy that can really lift off the floor, off the dribble, and make long distance threes. Southern's attention to Berridge and Hunley, and now back it up. I mean, we had a stretch in the second half where film will show, and I know coaches will be sure to point this out to the team that, hey, we had a stretch where they missed 3 wide open threes. That could have been 9 quick points. It would have made this thing really interesting. So we got a little bit lucky on that, but all in all, Southern really put together an outstanding 40 minutes.
So the 22-0 run was curious. When's the last time that Southern has had a run like that in a basketball game? And didn't have to go back too far into the archives, Coach Watson. It was against SEMO in December of 2019. Southern was trailing 12-2 in the game, just under 14 minutes left in the first half. SEMO got off to a really good start. And then a 26-0 run ensued for the Dogs. They led it 28-12. After trailing 12-2, a 26-0 run there in December of 2019 in the 1920 season.
That's still been 7 years ago or 6 years ago. It's been a long time ago, man. That just shows you college basketball is talented, and no matter how good one team is versus the other, usually teams get a bucket in there somehow. That is a long time ago for there to be such a stretch like that. But it was fun to watch one most recently, and Southern earned it, man. They were shooting with great confidence. They were getting great shots. Not going to try to say or disguise that Evansville is a great defensive team because they give up 76 points. They score 66 in the league. But you know what? Southern didn't play to that competition level either. They really played at their own level.
No, they did not. And I think another telling stat, too, last night was the 5th game this year where Southern has led for 30-plus minutes in the games. And here are those 5 games. Evansville, they led for 36 minutes, 33 seconds. At Indiana State, they led for 32 minutes and 11 seconds. Of course, the last two games that the Salukis have played. Valpo at home led for 31 minutes, 3 seconds. UT Martin led for 33 minutes. Delaware led for 39 minutes and 25 seconds. And Coach Watson, it should be no surprise that 4 of those 5 were absolutely convincing wins. Valpo was a game that Southern had a double-digit lead, but then the Beacons made it a little close and a little bit too close for comfort there towards the end of the game on New Year's Day. But again, it has shown this year when the Salukis have been able to lead for significant amounts of period, especially in those 30-minute ranges, things typically bode well for the Dogs.
I felt really good for our team. I felt good for their confidence, like true confidence. I mentioned this in the post game toward the end about both Drew Steffi and Damian Mayo, who come on our show after losses, and those are hard to do. They're hard for coaches to do. They're not fun. There's nothing fun about that part of college basketball for a college basketball player to have to talk about a performance. They, regardless of, they score some points, but they really want the win more than anything. But so I felt good for our team because they're building. When you stack a couple of wins and the way they did it, this isn't like relief. It's like, okay, this stuff's working. This is working. But I'll tell you, I really felt good for. I felt good for our fans last night. And just our faithful group who came out and my dad would always say, when I go to a game, I want a treat, not a treatment. And our fans got a treat last night. They got a treat in the way that our kids dove on the floor. I mean, I don't know what half it was. I presume it was the second half when Sykes and Mayo dove on that floor, and there was some contact. And we didn't ask them about it, but I got a feeling in the back of their mind that was some remembrance of January 1st of 2025 when we weren't doing that. And it's like, hey, I was here when that stuff went on, and that's not happening anymore. Our fans love that. Every fan group loves when their team gives that kind of effort. We saw it throughout the game where guys were getting on the floor and just being tougher with the ball. I just love that. Again, I really love it for our coaches, but I especially love it for our fan base because you guys deserve it, man. You've been so faithful to this program. This program's been good to all of us. And last night, our team was really good to us.
To give credit to Evansville, as you were mentioning as well, I remember Southern led this game 33-9. That was the 22-0 run that they went on in the game. It was 39-32 with 2 minutes, 14 seconds left in the first half. So Evansville was able to get it all the way back to single digits to 7, but that was as close as they would get the remainder of the game. The Salukis were able to boost it up, have an opportunity to extend that lead, and really never looked back in the game. Again, as we described, Coach Watson, so many Salukis all across the score sheet and the stat sheet. The starting 5 all end up in double figures for Southern in the game, with Damian Mayo and Prince Aligbe each with 11 points. But Rollins Aligbe led the team in scoring again, 18 points for him. He was 4-4 from 3 in that fury of that 22-0 run to start the game. Was just about 3 rebounds short of the double-double. So how dare you, Rollins? Can't get that double-double again. He's slacking. I'm concerned about Rollins Aligbe. So, I think that's where we need to go with that statement. But
I think there was some conversation when he came out for the last time with Coach Nagy, like, I need a few more rebounds before I come out, before I take the night off.
I think he definitely wanted a few more rebounds in there. But, I mean, I haven't done it yet, and I'm going to try to at least look around the league, Coach Watson. And there's always guys that you just casually forget in our league that are having good years that did not have an impact a year ago. So I know there's going to be more than just Rollins Aligbe, and there will be more than just Rollins Aligbe on the most improved team. But I am telling you, it is going to be hard to find a guy who has made a bigger jump, who has gone from a role player a year ago. And at times, there were good games that you could keep him on the floor, but there are also games where you're like, he can't play today. Man, there's none of those games this year now. Rollins is a guy that you're like, man, we got to find a way to keep him on the floor. It's now 7 straight double-figure scoring games for Rollins Aligbe. He's again, last night didn't go to it, but 6 double-digit rebound games this year, 5 of them in league play, and 3 of his 5 have been 12-plus rebounds. And what I loved about Rollins, this number does add to it last night. How about this? 17 games this year where he's had at least 7 rebounds. To me, that shows you his motor. That shows you what is important to him and his game. And of course, being able to get 5 double doubles already on the year in league play is phenomenal. Only behind Fred King in the league in terms of double doubles. But adding that total last night, another 7 rebound game for Rollins of League Bay. That should now make 17 games this year that he has had at least 7 rebounds or more.
I don't mean this in reference to NIL, but we all know that deal. But Rollins, if he questions what his future is, he needs to talk to Randall Falker, who just made a strong living playing professional basketball for a large part of his life right now because he could do that. He could go get boards. He was strong, and he did other things. His shooting got better as he became a pro, and he wasn't a great shooter. His free throws were a little bit of an adventure, but Rollins has just got such a strong future. And hey, Saluki Nation, if you guys can keep a secret, I'm going to give you a secret right now for us to keep. Rollins can really shoot the ball. That guy he really knows what he's doing. But look, listen, don't tell anybody. 4 shots inside the arc, 4 or 5, he's to the point where, golly, man, if he doesn't take that step in 3, what I was referencing earlier, where he knows it's a good shot before the ball touches his hands, it's like that's a bad decision. But the other part is Southern's still got to get him because people are going to get on him. So the next part is he's got to be able, it's coming soon, where he's got to be able to lift fake the guy, keep his feet set, not travel, and get to the lane and score at another level. But and I'm really mad at Rollins because we ran a version of Sidewinder last night. He was wide open and he couldn't finish the darn thing off. I mean, I say we bench him for that alone. So Rollins, if you can't finish Sidewinder, buddy, hey, come on. No, what a great player. What a treat to watch. As I was telling Chris Carr, who lives in Minneapolis, near where Rollins is from, I said, man, I don't know how well you know Rollins, Chris, and he knows him well enough that they know each other. But as well as he's playing, far better person. And I know people say that a lot about people. Oh, he's a far better man than he was a coach or player. This guy is. He is a absolute joy to be around.
And to kind of build off of not just Rollins, but another guy that you've seen a surge here recently, and I think a big reason for it, Coach Watson, at least in my eyes, has been the rebounding and how it fuels this individual. And I'm going with Davion Sykes. You looked at the stretch, and I say 3 games, but it was a 3-game stretch of UIC, UNI, Valpo, and it actually was at Valpo, UNI, UIC in that order. In those 3 games for Davion, he had a combined 4 rebounds. Wow. Did not have more than 2 rebounds in any of those games. He had 2 rebounds against UNI, 1 rebound UIC, 1 rebound at Valpo. Davion is so much better than that, and he has shown it now. It is now 4, or I should say 3 of his last 4 games, he's had at least 6 rebounds. He's had 4 rebounds and more in all of them, but you look at 6 rebounds at Illinois State, 4 rebounds against Murray, which the Salukis lost that one, but 7 rebounds at Indiana State, 6 rebounds against Evansville. I know those numbers may not be like extremely eye-popping, and people may be like, why are you bringing up just those rebounding numbers? But to me, you look at the games where Davion Sykes is highly involved in rebounding, those typically go Southern's way, and Southern has a chance to win them. I don't think that's a small detail to look over and what the impact of a guy like Davion has been. And, man, I think it has helped him, especially when he can, clean the board and get out in transition. We saw that in the game last night against Evansville as well.
Yes, in last night's game, as an example, and we are very transparent about when we talk about plus minus, because sometimes it can be misleading. I don't think it was last night. When you look at the plus minus of our core and who really had success, and most of it was positive success. I mean, everybody was on the plus side, but Damian Mayo was 24, plus 24. Rollins was plus 20. Davion Sykes was plus 22. He was number 2 in that game. Let's talk about the Y factor. You talked about that stretch, Valpo, UIC, and UNI. Let's just be really honest about it. That was a stretch where Southern was just all over the place in their substitutions, all over the place, playing 9, 10 guys, and we were using the phrase coming and going, and Davion didn't know when he was coming and going. This guy, I mean, golly, man, what we saw down in Florida, the Delaware game, you can kind of dismiss it a little bit, even though you can't because it's early in the season. With the UAB game, man, you go back and look at the UAB game, you're like, you got a player there, okay? And then, Prince went through his thing, and we had to redefine our team, and there all of a sudden the substitutions just went, woo, they were all over the place. And Davion had no idea. And rhythm is such a big deal in college basketball. So where's this going? Southern's playing 7 guys right now. And this number is really impressive to me in the game last night. He talked about the 5 double figures of the starters. Haynes comes off the bench. He gets 8. Sykes comes off the bench. He gets 6. Southern in their top 7. Okay, no disrespect to Moreno, Weber when we play big, and those 2 guys are in the rotation. No disrespect to Max Picard right now in terms of, him coming in a game when you play 5 stretch guys, that he was in that rotation. Southern's got a core of 7 players. We all know that. Southern settled into that 7. Davion Sykes has really just blossomed since we've settled down the rotations and gone to an 8-man rotation, whether that's 2 guys being the 8th man in Weber, Moreno, or 1 guy in Picard like we saw last night. But the top 7, that was a big reason for our rhythm. It's a big reason for our offense efficiency in that game. It led to several. We were talking about the big run. We had other runs in the game and really good efficiency. In the second half, we had 6 turnovers, but it wasn't like that stretch of 5 in a more condensed area where we went long stretch again without scoring. Davion Sykes is a huge factor in whatever we have left in this season, and let's hope it's a long season.
Yeah, you look at the last 5 games, which of course Southern has been 3-2 in their last 5 games, which I don't think is something to turn your nose down at. I think that's important. As like we said, they are now 3-1 in their last 4, and the big test, no doubt, coming here on Sunday, and we'll get to Bradley in a matter of moments. But you look at the last 5 games and 5 games played. You have, when you look at kind of the minutes distribution, Coach Watson, it's really staggering, to be honest with you. Now, some of that is a little off kilter just because you had Mayo virtually not play the Murray game. So that kind of plays into these too. But you have Drew Steffi with 167 minutes, Q 162, Rollins 150, Jalen 150, Prince 118. You have Damian Mayo at 83, Davion Sykes at 98. And then the next closest Saluki is Jaheim Weber and Max Picard at 24 minutes. It's a major gap. But again, you're 3-2 in the last 5, 3-1 in your last 4, and you're starting to see, like you said, you have that, whatever you want to call it, the top 7 guys are really in there in terms of the minutes, and it really shows in the distribution. And as you said, plus minus isn't the end-all be-all. We've talked about that at times. But now I do think, it gets to an apples-apples comparison when you get into league play, and you have, of course, 15 games now of a sample size for SIU, sitting right now at 6-9 in league play. And to me, it shouldn't be a surprise. Drew Steffi, best plus minus, plus 46. There's a lot of good things that he's doing. Kelron House, he's second, plus 40. Rollins Aligbe, what a job he has done. He's third and plus 32. And then Damian Mayo, plus 29. And then you look at the flip side, and, towards the bottom of that, Jalen Haynes has gotten better. He's minus 13, almost near kind of even within the league. Jorge Moreno hasn't had a ton of time, only 120 minutes played on the year. He's minus 16. And just as a comparison, Jorge's played 120 minutes in league play. Max Picard's played in 191. That's a significant minutes distribution between those two. And Max is almost minus 50. He is almost 30 points below the next closest Saluki, which is Jorge, in terms of minus 16 in his minutes. Again, that is just a sample size. That's one number that you can look at, but it just goes back to the reinforcement of what you are saying, what I have said, and what I think everyone is seeing now. Southern is starting to really see that those top 7 guys, when they're spending the majority of the time on the floor, and look, there's going to be matchups, there's going to be games where maybe you throw in a different guy in there, and that's okay because that's going to happen. It's part of it as you go throughout the season. But man, those top 7, they're really starting to make a big difference, Coach Watson.
You can just tell the way they pass the ball. Southern's always been selfish. I saw a stretch. I don't recall exactly when it was or kind of where I noticed it in conference play, but I saw a stretch where it was kind of like, man, that seemed to be a simple reversal, and yet they didn't make it. And it's not about who it was or anything like that. It wasn't about a chemistry thing. It was just a simple fact of trust, or, can I make the pass, or is this guy in a position to catch it? The defense right, or whatever. But I was nervous, man. I was really nervous in that stretch, and it was in January, in that middle part there. Man, I don't see that now, and it's not. It really started with Illinois State, who I come back to say, regardless of what's happening with those guys, and that's their business. I keep telling people Illinois State can guard you. I mean, whatever's happening with them, with their scoring, whatever's that's between them and whatever. But Indiana State's not a good defensive team. Evansville's not a good defensive team. And I'll tell you what, we didn't make them one. And it came back to just how these 7 guys in particular, not advocating we play 7 guys. Look, you've got to have another person in that for again, smaller minutes.
Yeah.
You're right. But man, there is no the spacing, the ball movement, the way we reversed the ball, went side to side last night against a team. You've got to go side to side if you don't have an immediate impact inside. And what was cool was point paints 48-28. That's an indicator that guys are playing well together. And we're not a team that backdoors people. I thought Evansville really moved the ball well, and they had some opportunities. They really stretched us at times and tried to get backdoor stuff. And yet at the same time, I thought we really did a good job defensively in that respect. I'll tell you, the timeout coach called in the second half, I thought was a great timeout. We scored. Coach calls an immediate. It was his first timeout of the half, the one he called. And you said, what do you think we were talking about there? I go, I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the defensive rotation. Then he addressed it with us after the game. And the reason it's important to me, because I enjoy that part it's more systematic. The defensive end is more systematic than the offensive end. But so therefore it's a little bit easier to talk about. But what Evansville was doing last night, very smart. They were isolating our guards. They tried to get House as much as they could inside. A lot of times it was on Quentin. But they were doing it with other people. They tried doing it with Moeller, and gosh, Mayo was just too physical with him for that to be any fun. But when they would go inside and they went back to it in the second half, Southern went down from the passer. That happened to be Josh Hughes, the 6'10 kid. That was also a stretch 3. And so Rollins went down to double team. And right before Coach called the timeout, Hughes got the pass back out. He made the 3, and Q was really late in rotating over. When we talked to Coach about that after the game and that timeout, I loved his answer. He talked about it's not just Q rotating over, it's all 3 guys not involved in the trap rotating up a spot. That has as much to do with guys playing with rhythm. When you see rotations, whether it's a double team or whatever, maybe it's even a guy helping in the gap on a dribble and people rotating out. When you start seeing guys off the ball rotating together, and it never was a problem after that timeout. Like Evansville tried to go back to it. They got nothing. They did happen that they actually got out of that trap, and then they made another skip, and we were lucky not to rotate. We got lucky on them missing one. But by and large, that's another example where the top 7 in particular are really playing together on both ends. And it really shows up, not just in passing, not just to made shots, but it shows up when guys are covering for the backside. Because defensively, when you go to help, whether it's a double team or go help on the baseline or a guy gets beat, you've got to trust in the back of your head that your partner is covering up his man and your man at the same time. It's an incredible trust you got to have when you're playing, and you've got to play with trust and rhythm. And we're starting to see that getting better and better. And that, we brag about the missed shots percentages that it shows up. That's a little bit of a trick because the rebounding becomes a factor. But when you start seeing that rotation, those missed shot percentages, those really become important.
And you look within, the lineups within that within league play that we have kind of hinted at, Coach Watson. And again, the parameters that I just looked at were in conference, just because I think it's the most realistic that you could have, just in terms of, especially when you are comparing other teams throughout the league, but specifically just for SIU and see now they're doing our in-league games. And also, okay, you look at how many possessions have been played so far. I believe 1,034 possessions have been played within the league play so far for Southern in their games. I did minimum of 30 possessions. So it's a lineup that Southern's had to use for at least 30 of those 1,034 possessions that they played. What's a really encouraging sign for me is you look at those lineups, should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 of those lineups that are in. All of them are in the positive in terms of plus minus. So lineups that you've used for a good chunk of those possessions are plus in the positive trajectory. Their overall rating, which when you kind of look at, hey, what's kind of the team's point differential, on 100 possessions, again, really in a plus area in that area. The most productive lineup in terms of plus minus is House, Mayo, Steffi, Prince, and Rollins. So not a surprise. That was the starting lineup that we actually saw last night in the game against Evansville with Jalen Haynes coming off the bench. But to me, the other encouraging sign out of those 6 lineups in the game, or 6 lineups that have been productive in terms of plus minus, the reason they're also productive is 5 of them have really high green defensive ratings as well. And the lineup that's actually, when you look at what's kind of the best, right, what's most productive offensively and most productive defensively, the 2 lineups that pop up the most, it really doesn't surprise me that Davion Sykes is in both of those lineups. That's Q, Mayo, Drew, Davion, and Rollins. They have a 102 defensive rating, which is right in the 65th percentile in the green. And their offensive rating is 114, which is just positive, right around 52. You flip it in terms of the other lineup that I was talking about, which was Q, Jalen, Drew, Davion, and Rollins. They are right now in terms of a 117.5 in offensive rating. That's in the 60th percentile. And their defensive rating was 97.4. That's in the 74th percentile. I know those numbers can be a little bit overwhelming, but to me, those are 2 really important lineups that Southern has used. And in terms of possessions used, Southern has used those possessions. They've been in 65 possessions and 67 possessions, respectively, in those 2 lineups.
Did you say offense efficiency of 117, which means 1.7 points of possession? Because the 117 is
it's
based
points
on
scored per 100 possessions.
Okay, but
yeah.
but the way that measures out,
yes.
when I talk about it, we're getting a 1.17 points possession with that group, and we're giving up only 0.9.
97.4.
That is, folks, that is a staggering number. Like that might be the most significant number I've heard you say all season to talk about that lineup. I mean, we were talking about this before we came on the podcast, and you were telling me kind of that group to kind of brace me for it, but I had no idea the offense efficiency combined with the defense efficiency. Look, when you hold a team under a point of possession, hey man, you're going to win a lot of games. That's what champions do, man. And then the next one, gosh, I mean, 1.14 to 102, that's a significant difference. There's a lot of ways I can explain it to you, but you guys know the math. It's just, trust me, when there's that big of a difference in both those, man, that's a group getting work done. When I was coaching, was it because we wouldn't pay you enough that you wouldn't share those numbers with me? Because I need to know. These are fine. I feel good. I'm gonna change spark plugs on a mower here in about an hour. I'm gonna feel good about it, but not nearly as good as I would have felt if I'd had those back between 09 and 2020. Man, Luke, those are really significant. And the reason I come back to it is because they're conference games. It's like these are apples to apples, man, with everybody across the board. I'd be, I'm not going to ask you to do this, it's not your job, but man, I'd like to see what some of the best lineups in the league are compared to that.
Yeah.
And they're out there, but
No
Folks,
doubt.
be excited when you see those lineups Luke's talking about, because that's getting work done on both ends.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you, I haven't gone through them, but I'm sure Belmont's got some pretty impressive lineups as well, especially with their productivity that they have done this year within the league. And be good to look that up and go through it. But right now, my eyes are just on the Salukis, Coach Watson.
That's
So
where we want them.
86-60 again, the final score. Southern knocks off the Evansville Purple Aces on Thursday night inside Banterra. Let's go ahead and recap the Thursday games, Coach Watson, within the league as we look around the Missouri Valley Conference as we do each and every time out here on our podcast. And there were no doubt some entertaining games in the Valley on Thursday night. And let's kind of start off, though, in Terre Haute, where Murray was up big at halftime. And again, the Sycamores have really been getting some bad injury luck here. Derek Vorst did not play in the game, and as well as Marcus Harding. So they were down basically their top two bigs. They did not play in the game last night for the Sycamores, and they're down 22 at halftime, 43-21. And we know how quickly you can get buried against Murray because of how good they are offensively. But give credit to Coach Graves and his team. I know, and he said it in his post-game press conference last night, there are no moral victories in this league, and especially at this stage. But Murray had to hold on, 74-72. Doman and Jackson both with 20-plus point games. Doman with 20, Javon Jackson with 22. Fred King somewhat held in check. I mean, he scores double figures, but 13 points and 6 rebounds for Fred King. The Sycamores had 3 of their starters in double figures. Hall, Allison, and Scott all scored double figures. Camp Wagner off the bench with 15. Bernard with 12, who's got a tremendous motor. I know you and I were both impressed with Ian Scott when we were in Terre Haute as well. Sycamores come up just short, but Murray, hey, doesn't matter how you win, man, on the road. Just find a way to win, and the Racers did.
They had 2 guys score off the bench. Miller got 8, and Tenner, who was very good in the Banterra Center. I'm sorry, he got 8, and Miller got 6. The one that Southern, if we get a chance to play Murray again, they better look at this film tight. How in the world did Indiana State hold Lane Taylor scoreless? I'm telling you, that guy is he's a huge piece to their success. And then part of it is he doesn't have to score to be happy. He was 0 for 2 from 3. But it was the exact same Indiana State team we saw. Vorst didn't come back. I thought, I said to you, he's a big difference in this game, especially in Terre Haute. He will be if he comes to Banterra Center. He's a good player. I know. I remember how excited they were when they got him, when Coach Schertz signed that kid. They were really excited about his upside. But all that said, Indiana State, played really well. They shot the ball extremely well from 3, and that is such a good equalizer. Southern saw it last night. We lived by it as well.
Yeah, Lane Taylor, by the way, first time this year he was held scoreless in a game, and the Racers still find a way to win. Only had 2 assists too, so it's kind of one of those things where when you hold him scoreless, okay, well, he's probably got to drop 6 assists because that can happen in a blink of an eye, and it didn't happen for him last night. But he could care less because the Racers got the win on the road in Terre Haute to knock off Indiana State again. 74-72 was the final, and now Murray, that helps them keep pace with the league-leading Belmont Bruins, who we'll get to the schedule in a moment, but that's who Murray will host this weekend in Murray, Kentucky. Maybe the most staggering game from last night in terms of impressive was Illinois State. 86-64 was the final in their win over the Valpo Beacons. In Valpo and Illinois State, they were in a tie game, Coach Watson, at halftime. It was tied at 34, and the Redbirds outscore Valpo 52-30 in the second half of the game. And was looking at our friend Paul Orrin, who, of course, does a tremendous job with the victory bell. Valpo led by 7, 90 seconds into the second half. So they were outscored 52-23 the rest of the game. Give credit to Illinois State and, the Redbirds being able to do it as well with Chase Walker really battling through right now what apparently is somewhat of a hamstring that Coach Peden described after the game. He had 11 points in 6 minutes. It was a very productive 6 minutes for Chase Walker. But that is, as you always talk about, the equalizer here down the stretch. Chase Walker is going to miss any sort of time or not be as significant in games, that could be a really big factor for Illinois State.
No doubt. This guy's legit, man. He's a guy that can go get you points and rebounds. He's tough defensively. But here comes Johnny Kinzinger. Just when you think what's going on with him in 26 minutes, he gets 21 points, 7 of 15, 3 of 8 from 3. Don't think Johnny Kinzinger's staying down. This kid's a really tough player, and undoubtedly the Redbirds certainly need his leadership. They need his confidence, and perhaps they're getting it from him. Claybo, a guy another freshman that's truly impresses me with 8 points. Wolf, UNI transfer, another guy that, they have enough. Illinois State's got enough that, I don't know what their deal is. Maybe it's a little bit of rhythm. Maybe it's, whatever. I know this. It's having been a part of this league a long time and been on both ends of the hunted and hunter. When you're being hunted, that shot comes out of your hand differently than when you're the hunter. It's just like when guys make shots down by 3 possessions and they raise up and make threes late, within a minute. It's not that they don't count the same. It's just it's kind of like you got nothing to lose. And Illinois State, that's a good win for them. Valpo only turned it over 8 times. And I was really impressed by, how they're playing the game. They couldn't get enough scoring. They got 2 guys off the bench. Whitaker got 13 and Cervelis got 5. And other than that, they're just not getting them. Hopoi got nothing, from a scoring standpoint. Played heavy minutes out of their starters, 3 plus 31, because, Valpo's playing for something. They're playing for a bye situation, and don't count them out. Now, Roger Powell's really got his teams. They seems to always have his teams playing toward the upper end as they go on in February.
JT Pettigrew, 17 points, 13 rebounds for Valpo as well. Lehman scoring a double-double for him. And guess what? A freshman. So another talented young player. And as you said, Coach Watson, Valpo, that loss last night puts them at 7-8 in the league. We'll get to the league standings here in a moment. But, man, they are starting to get jumbled, which is exactly what we expected. Not necessarily at the top, which we'll get to that also in a moment as well. UIC, they go on the road and get a big win. They knock off Drake 80-70. And this was a game late where UIC had to make some really big free throws, Coach Watson. It was a 2-point game with 1:42 to go. It was 72-70. That was after Isaiah Carr got a layup for Drake. All those points were at the free throw line for UIC. So they close Drake out at the free throw line, 80-70 to win it. UIC now, they are in a really good spot. 14-12 overall, 9-6 now in the Missouri Valley Conference standings. Drake now, they fall a half game behind Southern because they have 10 losses now. Again, the quirkiness of Southern's schedule is why the league standings look a little bit off. But obviously Drake has the head-to-head right now, and Southern still plays Drake still to come here next week. But Drake now 6-10 right now in that category with the Salukis as well. And most likely you're going to be on Thursday, barring something drastic here in the conference standings. But UIC, big win on the road, and they hold Jalen Quinn to 15 points in the game. Eli Shetler led the Bulldogs with 17.
Yeah, I was going to say Indiana State transfer Shetler really stepped up when they need him a big part of that with 5 threes. But I'll tell you something about UIC. It's just, their consistency is so impressive. They out-rebound on the offensive end. Drake 12-8. They were plus, if I can get my numbers right here, they were plus 5 on the turnovers. Only 7 turnovers in the Knapp Center for UIC.
Yeah.
The big factor, man, and one of my favorite schools, USI got beaten a heartbreaker by 2 last night. They missed 19 free throws at home. UIC, 17 of 18 from the line. And the reason I bring that up, not because I'm aching over my Screaming Eagles, but the free throw lines, we all know that's a big deal, especially in February. But think about when Coach talked to us and they're 5-10, that what they knew they had to be good with. And I was bringing up his free throw stuff, and he's like, look, we didn't think we're going to be a very good three-point shooting team. That's a work in progress. But we can be good at 2 areas. One is free throws. We put a lot of time in it, a lot of time in the summertime in it. Those are games where you go back and say, hey, man, that won him the game. 17 of 18 from the free throw line. They continue to just be tough, smash mouth, going after offensive boards, getting their offense in that way. And they really know how to win. Very impressed by Rob Eson's group. They just continue to impress, win or loss. It's just the way they play consistently. They never, no, I shouldn't say never. They just don't seem to deviate much from what they do well, and the things they don't do well, it seems like they keep getting better.
Josiah Hammond's 4 threes off the bench, 12 points. That was a really big factor in the game. He had almost half of their three-pointers made in the game. UIC shot 9 of 21 from three. And Elijah Crawford led him in scoring, 18 points, 5 assists, only 1 turnover. Obviously we had Elijah on the show earlier this year and was just such a great conversation with him. And he's a big piece to that UIC team, obviously. And when he's out there on the floor, makes a big impact in those games, and he did as well. So UIC gets the win, 80-70 over the Drake Bulldogs. And the final game of the night, which was actually, I believe, the KenPom game of the day going into it, and it should have been. 2 top 100 KenPom teams, 2 teams that are playing really at a high level, and it lived up to the hype. Tie game at 45 at halftime. Belmont just edges out UNI 91-86 in the Curb Event Center. Just starting with Belmont. Who else, Coach Watson? Tyler Lumblade, 31 points for him, 7 of 12 from 3. Was a perfect 6 for 6 at the free throw line. Sam Orem chipped in 15 points as well. The biggest shocker of the game was Drew Sharnowski, playing in only 12 minutes, no points, and only 2 rebounds for him. He did have 3 assists to 1 turnover, but typically that's a guy that you see just with, almost a triple-double when they played Murray. I mean, for them to score 91 points, I think you would think Drew Sharnowski was way more involved in the scoring than what he was. But no one else in double figures for Belmont. It was those 2, but, I mean, you don't have to really need a lot more help when you have a guy go for 30-plus and Lundblade and Orm with 15. The next closest leading scorers were Brigham Rogers and Aiden Noyes off the bench. Rogers with 9 points, 5 rebounds. Noyes chipped in 3 threes as well. He's going to play a big factor for Belmont down the stretch. But give credit to UNI. 4 of their starting 5 were in double figures. The only one that wasn't was Ben Schweiger. He was scoreless in 23 minutes, only got 1 shot attempt in the game. Leon Bond, 21 points, was 3 of 5 from 3. Max Weisbrod as well. He chipped in 3 threes as well with 18 points.
Smith is a guy that's come off injury for Northern Iowa. He had 6 points, 2 of 2 in 17 minutes. They're a much better team, obviously. I mean, they hung big numbers down in Belmont. That Northern Iowa's, because the team, they're like anyone else, they can score on a given night. They really took care of the ball. Both teams were great at the free throw line. Northern Iowa 23 of 24 from the free throw line, gave themselves a chance to hang around, make it a possession game the best they could, but just too much Belmont. Just Belmont's playing 9 guys, and they're getting productive scoring. I think 36 points off their bench, but it's 8, 9, 9, 7, as the score sheet says. That you all can read it. When you're getting that kind of help off the bench, and you can, you never want arguably one of your best players for sure, maybe the best player, who knows, in Sharnowski to go scoreless, but when you are comfortable that you can get production everywhere else across, shows that's what a championship is made of, and they're heading in that direction. It's going to take some upsetting for Belmont to not walk away with the regular season trophy at this stage.
Our friend Dan Muller, who was on the TV call last night, was listening to him on our way home, and he made a really good point. You think of how good Owen Dillon has obviously been this year in his 14 minutes. He had 8 points last night. Imagine the improvement he can make from this year to next year. And you just see so many of those guys and it's a tip of the cap to Coach Alexander and his group and his team. I mean, I'm sure there's probably maybe some that you can bring up, at least none that are coming apparent to me. There aren't very many guys you see digress or have any sort of sophomore slump because, one, it's hard for him to keep guys because of how talented they are in Nashville. But, man, you don't see a lot of guys go downward with him. Man, they go onward and upward, and to tip of the cap to him, tip of the cap to his staff and the job they do. I know, like, when we ask him, and you talk about your player development, he's always like, well, we're not doing anything different than SIU and some of the other programs. I'm like, Coach, we love it and we appreciate the compliment, but you're doing something right, brother. and they are. Yeah,
not giving it away, and I don't blame him. But I'll tell you another thing they've been fortunate with. They've got Wes back in the lineup. Wes is a guy that hurt his shoulder. He's when you deal with whether it's a separation or whatever it is, shoulder injuries in college basketball, like any injuries, but especially that one, it's really hard to come back from. It's a exaggerated version of a jam thumb. We've all had a jam thumb, and every time you ding it on something, it's like you go backwards, and the shoulder's even worse. Him coming back in the starting lineup and bringing Smiley off the bench, where you can get when you have no drop off at your point guard position. I keep talking about it's not by chance that every good team at the top of this league has notable point guards, guys that really run the show. And Belmont's got two with West and Smiley. What a luxury it is to have such quality at that position, in addition to having a bunch of other good players.
Let's go ahead and get to the league standings, Coach Watson. Belmont at the top, 13-3 right now in the league. They got a 2-game lead now with 4 games left for the Bruins right now with 16 games played. They host Murray again. We'll get into that in a moment. That's going to be a massive game because if they can win it, depending on what happens Sunday as well here in Carbondale, could potentially give them a 3-game lead with 3 games left, which is obviously a great spot to be for the Belmont Bruins. Murray and Bradley, right now they're tied in the loss column because Bradley was off on Thursday. They did not play, so they're technically a game back in the win column. Murray's second at 11-5, Bradley 10-5 coming in here to Carbondale on Sunday. Illinois State and UIC both deadlocked at 9-6. Right now, UIC would just be what jersey you're going to wear in the 5-4 game in St. Louis. UIC would have that advantage because they've already beaten Illinois State once this year. UNI right now would be in the 6th spot in the conference standings. They are 8-7, just 1 game back of UIC and Illinois State. Valpo, they're 7-8, again 1 game back of UNI right now in that 7th spot. And then there's the Salukis at 6-9 in the league standings. Again, Southern kind of that odd team right now where with that extra game at Evansville going to be towards the end of the year. 6-9 in the league. Drake right behind them at 6-10, a game back in the loss column. Those two teams will still see each other again this year, and actually will be next week. Indiana State drops to 3-12 after their loss to Murray, and then Evansville 2-13 in the league. May want to call it Separation Sunday in the Missouri Valley because all of these games have massive ramifications. SIU and Bradley will be the first game of the day, along with Indiana State at Valpo. Of course, Bradley coming to Carbondale, trying to stay in that hunt for a potential shot at catching Belmont. Now, they've already played Belmont twice and they split, but Bradley comes in the Carbondale on Sunday, and we'll get to Brian Wardle in just a matter of moments. Valpo, they host Indiana State at 1 o'clock. Again, a game that was a really entertaining game, went to overtime in Terre Haute. Of course, Sycamores, they lost both their home games this week to SIU and Murray. They'll try to turn the tide on the road in the Arc. Illinois State, they'll go to UIC. So 2 teams that right now would be in the 5-4 game. Deadlocked, that game in Chicago, Illinois State trying to avoid being swept by the Flames. UIC would be in a really good spot if they could somehow sweep Illinois State in terms of a tiebreaker scenario and really cementing themselves for a top 5 positioning. And then a rivalry game, Drake at UNI. That will be in Cedar Falls. There'll be a 2 o'clock tip. So Southern, their next 2 games are those 2 teams after Sunday as they go on the Iowa road swing. That is always an entertaining game, regardless of whether it's played in the Knapp Center or in the McLeod Center. And then Belmont at Murray. That will be the nightcap. That will be on ESPN2, by the way, at 5 o'clock p.m. We try not to overstate things, Coach Watson, but man, Belmont, if they win here on Sunday, it pretty much, I think, virtually at least probably seals them, if not worse, at least a tie or at least a share of a conference championship. Now, they still got to do their business here throughout the year because, when you look at Belmont's schedule, it is no doubt favorable for them here down the stretch because the majority of their games are at home. I guess it's a split, 2 games on the road, 2 games at home, which their 2 road games are not going to be easy, at Murray and then at Illinois State to end it. And their 2 home games are Indiana State and Evansville. But if we learned anything in this league, you can't take any night off. But, man, a big step for Murray. I know that's where all the eyeballs are going to go in terms of that game this weekend. But it's a chance if Murray wants kind of that last desperation to try to win the league, really comes down to whether they can beat their rival on Sunday.
Huge game for them. And yeah, Belmont's got Illinois State on the road last, but what we're really concerned about would be ourselves, and it's like, and you're making a great point about the rest of the league. And And the fact of the matter is, I keep thinking about my first year at Southern Illinois in 88, 89. We were a 6 seed. Now there was no buy-in game, so it was just 3 games and you win it. But I think we had Tulsa as a 6. They're a 3. We win that game, and I think we beat Illinois State next. We get Creighton in the championship. I mean, my point of bringing this up, it's one thing. It's Murray to try to get them, but who knows if they get a piece of it. Where are they? Probably 1 or 2. I don't know. Belmont, whatever. But where I'm coming back from is not only obviously Bradley's right in the mix. I mean, they're right in the mix of this thing. But SIU's in this conversation because it's so critical that we're looking very possibly at we need to get to be a 7 or 6 seed. And you can get to where you want to go from the 7 and 6 seed. That second half of the second game playing the 1 seed is going to get a little tough. Okay, if you're in that 8 seed, you win that first game.
Yeah.
That I'm not, anything's possible, but you're looking at a very fresh, great team that's really hot and coming off a championship, feeling good about themselves, had a good meal the night before. That next 20 minutes is tough. But man, I'm telling you, if Southern can work themselves up, and it's right here, man, it is right in their hand. They can do something about it with this game Sunday and not looking far ahead, but we know what's coming after Sunday. But starting with Sunday, if Southern continues this confidence they have, continues this really good rhythm on offense and defense, and that starts getting people shaking their heads, saying what we've been saying all along, especially in January. Nobody wants to play the Salukis. And our Murray friends told us, hey, nobody wants to play you guys. You guys are a mess, and you could mess our team up. And that's what they meant. Like, you're a mess, all right, because you can mess our team up. And so not only for Bradley and Murray and Belmont, this have big implications on Sunday. It has a lot on SIU. And so, man, this is a big weekend.
It is. And right now, if you're looking at what's going to be the cutoff for who's going to get in the Friday, who's going to start on Thursday, KenPom projecting that line right now at 12-8. So 12-8 right now looks like is going to be the cutoff in the league. And in the projected standings right now for KenPom, they have right now a 3-way tie for third. They have Bradley, Illinois State, and UIC all finishing at 12-8 in the league. UNI right now would be the first team kind of out. They'd be 11-9 in the 6th spot. They have Valpo right now in the 7 seed, finishing at 10-10. But it's like I told you, Coach Warren, they have Southern right now finishing at 8-11. So they have the Salukis just winning 2 of their final games here down the stretch. But if you can get to 10-10 or better, what you just said in terms of your seating line, again, and I know I've kind of kept it going a bit here on the podcast, it's going to take a lot of the reasoning because of how the tiebreakers would go. It's going to take a lot for SIU to find themselves off of Thursday. But it doesn't take a lot to find themselves to get to the 6th line, which, as we have said, the 6 would play the 11, and then go on. You get the 3 seed, et cetera, et cetera. You can't always just look ahead and count those things before they actually happen, because if we've learned anything this year, never take anything for granted in terms of your league schedule, and especially in these games in the Missouri Valley Conference. So that's a look around the Missouri Valley, what should be a really fun Sunday. We have put him off long enough. So let's bring on the head coach of the Bradley Braves, Brian Wardle. And, man, congratulations to your group on what was just an outstanding win at home and a great college basketball game against Belmont. That's probably why you just look so young still, right? I mean, these games don't add any years to your age.
Hey, I'm hiding it. I'm hiding it. Trust me, guys. It's been a up and down year for us at times. Like, we can play at a very high level, and then we can have some low level segments, and we're still trying to find that consistency. Our defense is getting a little better right now, so I'm happy about that. That's, we were 9th in the league in defense, and I'm used to being 1 or 2. And I think we've dropped 2 or 3 spots already in the last 2.5 weeks, where we made some tweaks in January when we had kind of our bye week. We changed some things. And so, we're just trying to get better with this young group and put ourselves in position to go into Arch Madness and be playing our best basketball or have a chance to win it. And I didn't like where we were at, to be honest. even early January, I thought, maybe we got to tweak a few of these offensive things we're doing defensively for sure. We got to find a way to guard better and defend the rim and rebound better. And so we've been playing bigger lately, and I think it's helped. It's obviously helping our defense because our defensive numbers are getting better.
Coach Wardle, Coach Nagy talks about all the time with his group how years in the past he's had to really win with offensive oriented teams. And it's frustrating to him that's almost been flipped this year where they've really had to pride themselves on the defensive side. You were just talking about how, man, typically our defense is way where we want it to be in offense, maybe not quite that way. How do you as a coach make sure you help yourself to don't get in your own way at times? And when you go throughout a year, it may not be exactly the way you want it to be, but man, the end goal is to win games. And here you are tied for second in the league.
I think you got to adapt as a coach. You got to be flexible. Like stubbornness can't be part of coaching nowadays. And I've learned that. I learned that at a young age. You got to be willing to adapt to your personnel. And we're at schools where we can't technically recruit players to our system. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have that opportunity. We just got to get the best talent that we can get sometimes and the best player that fits our city and program and culture. And so you may not get that skilled 5-man you want every year or that point guard that is a great passer and 3-point shooter. So it just depends. And our personnel is a lot different this year than it was a year ago. I have a new staff. I have new players. And so it's a process. You got to be open-minded about changing things as a head coach. And I think anyone that's worked for me knows I am, and then we're going to really work hard at it. Can't change all the time. You can't be great at everything, but if you feel it's going to fit your personnel and help your guys be more successful and they can execute it better, because you guys know the Valley, it comes down to execution, defensive execution, offensive execution, and playing smart and executing what the game plan is. And I just think we've had to trim stuff off, like trim the fat off all the steak, and we got a nice little tiny fillet right now, and that's kind of where we're at. With our team, and we're going to kind of keep it simple going down the stretch, and hopefully we can master some things here.
Brian, kind of playing off of that as well. Something I learned as I got older in my coaching age, I had to lean on some guy. In addition to your staff, who do you call to really help you kind of maybe recalibrate or just check in to make sure you're doing things right? Or because Coach Weber and I talked to this day, and he'll talk to Matt Painter, and I had guys I would talk to. Bruce was one of them. Who do you go to outside of your staff?
Oh, well, I've been blessed to have worked with some really good coaches and work under some. So, I mean, Todd Kowalczyk at Toledo, obviously, Tom Crean, Mike Dean, who coached me at Marquette. I still talk to him. He watches our games. And, um, Dennis Gates is a good friend of mine. We grew up playing AU ball together. So Ryan Sharbaugh, who was with me, is on his staff. So, like, I talk to Josh Schertz. I talk to, old school Porter Moser. I mean, there's guys that that are kind of out of our league that I really respect, that I had battles with, that like to pick their brain sometimes. So it's I think that's important as a coach. As you know, Ronnie, you got to have that. You got to look through that favorites phone calls on your phone and call people and pick their brain a little bit about just what they're doing in practice. Or are you, if you're questioning this, because I'm most coaches are confident, especially guys that have done it a long time, but I think you're always questioning yourself, especially with today's day and age, young people. Is this the right way to go about it here? Am I practicing? Am I scrimmaging enough? Am I getting up and down enough? Am I, just simple? Am I doing blockout drills enough? I mean, so it's been fun having a new staff because they brought a lot of new ideas to me, and I can pick their brains about their programs that have won too. And I think that's kind of helped me adapt a little bit this year. And that's really what you have to do, because we go back, Luke, we talk about offensive minded. I just think most of them are wired that way now because that's what gets them paid. I mean, the more points you score, the more stats you put up, they're getting told that's how you get more money or have that opportunity to increase that NIL. And I try to just get in my guys' heads, listen, winning is everything. Playing the right way is everything. You want to be efficient. It's not just getting up shots. You want to be good on both sides of the ball and show efficiency and help your team win. And then the money happens for you guys. But if you're always thinking about it or trying to just play offense, your team's not going to win and you're not going to get to where you want to go. So it's a very hard balance now as a coach of how to get your guys all on one page. And I've been fortunate enough to have really good guys in my locker room that buy into that and really work towards that goal. That's our culture here. People know that. It's unselfish attitude as soon as you walk in. And But I do see it happening more and more with a player here and there that you got to talk to, maybe spend more time with, and show them, look at after you score this basket, look how hard you play on defense. Like we need that effort even when you're not scoring. And I just think we have more offensive minded young players coming into college basketball now.
Brian, one area in your 11 years that's, in my opinion, not even debatable that you've done an incredible job with. And I know your point about not going out and getting a five-star guy, especially in this day and age of just, one more million, the next bid is another million, seems like. But, whether the name is Brown or Dean or Johnson and now Wheeler, you've done a terrific job bringing point guards to the hill. In addition, when you go recruiting, there's got to be something in your mind that just says, hey, I've got to have this characteristic, and then we'll develop the rest of it. Can you share with us what the it factor is?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at point guard play, they have to be able to apply pressure and handle pressure right out of the get-go. But I look for IQ and feel and those intangibles. Does their team win? What's their attitude like with their teammates? Are they vocal, or they don't even have to be real vocal? Like Daryl Brown wasn't a real vocal guy, but he became a very good one-on-one leader in leading in huddles and direct one-on-one talks. And I'm just always looking at those little intangible things before the athleticism, before the scoring, the shooting. Obviously, you got to look at assist to turnover ratio. Decision making is everything, and basketball IQ and decision making and feel. So I really try to find point guards that have that. Kwani was a great passer coming out of high school. He's become a better scorer here this year for us. Montana has really good feel. Duke did. All these guards that you mentioned had really good feel and IQ. And then, you just got to use them the right way too. So every player has strengths and weaknesses, and you just try to put them in positions to utilize their strengths, whether that's a middle ball screen and you're flipping it or twisting it flat, or maybe on the side they're better. They're maybe coming off better off pin downs when they get them a little separation, then into a quick ball screen. I mean, every guard's kind of different, and you got to figure out what works for them, and that's what we've done with Kwani this year. But I don't know. I've just been lucky too, a couple times, but I do think there is a formula in evaluating point guards that we try to stick to or stay close to at least.
Coach Wardle, I'm so interested to hear your thoughts on this too. When you think of how much, when you got to Bradley, how much has changed in college basketball in general, but also how you build a program, no doubt, has changed drastically different. And Coach Watson and I share it so much of, when you look at so many of your coaching counterparts now, maybe you get 2 years. It's very rare you get past that to really get your time in to show, hey, this is what our program can look like. How do you kind of process it as someone who went through those years of building it the old way? Yes, the portal wasn't the way it was now, but now when you see it, man, look, it's a pressure cooker, and we get it. We understand you guys as coaches and everybody. It comes with the gig now.
Right.
But how you process that all, and just how much has changed since, when you put this thing together in Peoria?
Well, I wish I had a portal when I got the Bradley job, because maybe I wouldn't have got my butt whooped so bad my first 2 years. But you could still, I feel you got to have an identity. So you got to go into a job and say, all right, this is what our team is going to look like and play like. And we're going to be about these standards every day. And then you got to hold them accountable to it. And you can't turn a cheek, and you can't be afraid of confrontation and having direct talks, and being honest with your players and letting them know, because I do feel the greatest sign of love still is when you have discipline in your program, and you treat everyone fairly from 1 to 15, and everyone understands, here's how we do things. I don't care if you're Shaquan Johnson or you're Gus Rugard, the walk-on. Everyone is treated fairly in my program in the same way. And I think that helps my players know that, I care about them, and I'm here about winning, and all those standards that we talk about and we act on every day, that they are real and they matter. So that identity, we tried, when I got Bradley and even Green Bay, I really wanted to get better defensively. We became very good offensive teams too, but I just felt like we had to have a strong backbone defensively, and how we practice our intensity, our competitive spirit every day, how we rebound, how we do the little things well. And I think it's been fun having new coaches with me, because they say, like, I'm way more of a teacher than they even expected when it comes to practice in the little details and correcting little things. And I never want to lose that. I think that's still very important to sustain success and to build a program quickly. But it is cutthroat. We choose this, like you said, Luke. Don't feel bad for us. We chose this career. We chose this profession. This is what we wanted to do. But yeah, it's a shorter window now, and definitely how much money you spend in NIL and the player quality you get for that money is going to factor into your job security now. And so evaluating has become even bigger, which I feel very good about, confident about. So that evaluating, making sure you're not overpaying and you can't miss on a lot of kids anymore, or it can really cost you. And so watching a lot of film, going to see people in person, making sure you do a good eval on what's important for you and your program is critical. But scheduling, I mean, I could say throw scheduling in there as important for your program too, how you schedule the non-conference with your teams. And so it's a little bit of everything, but just getting a good, strong identity. Here's who we're going to be every day. Here's how I'm going to be every day. Stay true to who you are and your personality and the person you are. And I think kind of the locker room takes on that persona a little bit and really buy in.
No doubt we want to ask you about your guys, but kind of the last piece, and I'm really glad you talked about, because Coach Watson and I, we've had multiple discussions with coaches like yourself and others throughout the league, even dating all the way back to Steve Alford at Nevada. And just you talk about the evaluation piece, and when you factor in the NIL component now, it is part of it, Coach Wardle, of what you value somebody in terms of
Mm-hmm.
what the budget you have. What have you found? And again, it's still early on, but the difficulty, or I don't want to say any of this is easy, but how do you just make sure you are checking your boxes of, okay, guys, like if we're in this pay bracket, whatever you want to say, these boxes got to be checked for those reasons, because we all know at the schools in our league, it's not like these are resources that are easily refundable and easily just to get back the next year.
No, exactly. Well, I have a sheet that, and my staff knows the 5 things we're evaluating on from most important to least important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they know that, and they know exactly what is important to me. I mean, the hardest one to evaluate is like the basketball stuff is easy for me. Like, does he have a good IQ and feel? You can watch film and know, can he run a play? Can he remember a blob? Like I got to run a baseline out of bounds play on the fly. Those players that stumble on that and can't execute really don't help you win in this league. This is a very high IQ, high feel league. Smart basketball wins, tough wins. And so that's easy. I mean, you just got to go watch film and you go watch them practice. I love going to practices. I'm old school. I will go to a practice over a game because I want to see them dummy. I want to see their habits. I want to see how do they stretch with their team. Are they off in the corner by themselves with their hoodie on, doing their own thing? Like all of that stuff is big for me. I just was at 2 practices the last 2 days watching a kid just because I want to see what they're like off the camera. And but the hardest thing to evaluate, like in shooting, scoring ability, size for position, or all that stuff is pretty easy to evaluate when you just watch film. But the hardest thing to evaluate is who their championship DNA. And you really don't know who they truly are until they come to campus and you have about 3-4 months with them. And it's that old slogan. I think it was John Gross said it a long time ago when he was at Illinois when I first got here. It's everybody has a backpack. You just don't know what's in their backpack until they dump it off. They dump it on your desk when they get to you. And that is really true because you're speed dating. You got to evaluate. And this is a fast transactional process now. Like that whole part of building a relationship and recruiting for a year and a half, 2 years to get a kid, that's just not reality now. So you don't know their work ethic because every coach will tell you they're a hard worker, which, there's Bradley hard work and then there's all the other hard work I've heard. Like you can ask Alex about that and AJ Smith. They're like, oh, okay, now we get it. Like there's how we train and then there's how other programs train, but you don't know their work ethic till they get there. You don't know how unselfish they are until they get to you. You don't know, are they always injured? Are they always hurt? Are they always in the training room? Are they giving everyone a hard time in the weight room, in the training room? Like I don't like that's important to me. I want low maintenance guys, high character guys that are respectful and treat everyone well. And you don't know that sometimes when you have to recruit in 2 and 3 weeks. And so you got to make a million phone calls, watch a lot of film, and just do your very, very best. And I always ask, it'd be funny, Luke, my first thing would be like, if I'm recruiting your son, I'd be like, all right, Luke, what's your son's red flags? What's his weaknesses? Has he been in trouble? I mean, just be honest. Everyone's been in trouble. Everyone has weaknesses. I need to know some of the red flags that I'm dealing with so that I can help him and see if he's the right fit for us too. And so just trying to find that stuff out is hard to do because everyone honestly will lie to you too. I mean, it's very hard to get the truth from people because they want to help. But I think people that have called me about my players will say he's very honest about strengths and weaknesses and what they got to get better at. And I think that's what you're just searching for in the recruiting process now.
Well, let's get into your team. And one that's obviously very familiar to Coach Nagy is Alex Huberts because he recruited him the right state. He's obviously playing extremely well for you guys. He made 6 threes the other night against Belmont, with 9 of 10 against Drake earlier on the road as well. Just how have you seen Alex throughout this year? It seems like, man, just playing with absolute confidence right now.
Yeah, he's got a nice rhythm to him right now, and he's kind of just got that confidence. It's an adjustment when you come to the Valley, and like I told him, like the Horizon League I coached in it years ago at Green Bay. It's a good league, but this league is a little bit of a jump up, and it's very physical, and it's bigger, and you got to learn how to play in this league. And I think it took him a few 5, 6, 7 games to really find his rhythm and understand how he can score in this league and get going. And I'm super proud of him. He's a tremendous guy. Coach Nagy did a heck of a job with him and recruited a high character, professional in Alex because Alex is a worker and he came right in and fit into our culture. Morning shooting, doing the extra film. I really pushed him to become more of a leader because he's a very smart player. So I pushed him to get out of his comfort zone when it comes to speaking up and talking more and putting him in positions to lead. Defensively, yeah, I'm really proud of him and what I've saw in previous years to what he's doing for us now. I mean, he's playing as hard as he's ever played on that end and really, doing what we ask and trying to execute the game plan every night. So he's become a good defender too. So he's been great, and we just got to keep him in attack mode and keep him aggressive and keep helping him with that because when he is, we're a better team.
Right. I've been really impressed with teams that rebound. You've got one that rebounds as well, especially in the offensive boards. Is that something, just as a group, it looks like you guys really try to get offense off of the rim?
Yeah, we try. I mean, we do drills in it. We talk about it. We emphasize it. Players know they'll get on the floor if they rebound for me. It's just that extra effort, that knack to go get it. But yeah, it's something that I think you do have to practice, and your head coach definitely has to emphasize. It can't be an assistant talking about it. It's got to be important to me, and I think our guys know that. And we're not as good a rebounding team as I wish we were, but we're trending in a better direction right now because we're playing a little bigger. And I think if our defense gets better and our rebounding gets a little bit better, then I like what we could do come March.
Brian, you've probably had guys you've had to limit their dribbles, like maybe you only get 1 or 2 dribbles per possession. Well, Luke limits me to questions, and right now it's a stretch that I'm going to get 4 in, but I'm going to go for broke here. You and Matthew Grays are unique in college basketball. You have daughters playing college basketball as well as you coaching a team.
Yeah.
How important is that for you to be the dad and the dad of a player that's going through all the stuff that, your guys are going through? How do you help her? How do you get a chance to really support her and go watch her play? And will you be able to stick around and watch the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll probably. I don't know yet if I'm sticking around because I would have to get a ride back. But it's been great having Maya. Maya wants to coach one day. She has a big personality. She loves ball. Like I always say, the 3 L's, coach. You either like it, you love it, or live it. And she lives it. And like I got to recruit guys that love it, and then I'll teach you how to live it. And I always say that. But if you like it, don't even bother coming to Bradley. And I told her that. Don't play college basketball if you just like it. I'm telling my younger daughter that and son now. Like, you got to love it to be at this level. And then you got to learn how to live it and to become a really good player and help your team win at a high level. And so she's, she's been kind of around Bradley basketball for a long time. And she'll pick my brain about stuff. But, she keeps it mostly dad talk. I don't know if she likes to talk basketball with me because I always give her the other perspective. Well, I'm always got the coach's back. So it's I'm not that parent ever pointing fingers. I'm always like, well, maybe the coach doesn't want you guys to do that because of this. And she's like, all right, Dad, enough. I'm going to go talk to Mom about this. But it's it's hard. It's hard at times because it's the profession I do every day. It's what I love and I live it. And then you got to separate it at times, especially with your kids. And that's not always easy to do, I'll be honest with you, because I'm such a competitor and I know a lot about this game. And I love when they play other sports. I just like to sit there and say, play hard, and do that rah-rah chant from a parent. But um, she's unique. She's a definite leader and unselfish and just loves to win. And the one thing I like about her, it's every team she's ever been on has won, and she just has a way with people, I think, to help people play to their best and be around them. So I hope she can continue to do that for Coach Pop's team and keep bringing that positive impact she makes.
It's got to feel good, Coach Wardle, that at least in Maya's bio. Now, I don't know if you forced it to put it in there, but she says that she wants to be a coach at some
Yeah.
point. So
No,
even though like the coach angle may bother her, she at least wants to be a coach at some point.
I agree with you. I mean, she's still there. She still wants to be, so that's a good sign. Because she's still got a couple more years left at college. But she coaches her sister's AU team in the summertime, and she loves it. And she really can think the game and talk the game. And she's obviously learning a lot right now with Coach Pop and her staff. And she had a great experience at EKU, and now having a really good one at Bradley. We've been very blessed that way. She's been around good coaches her whole career, and I think that's really what's driven her, is all the good coaches she's had to maybe make that impact on young people's lives one day. And um, and she's always saying she wants to be a strong female coach and leader. And I think that's a great uh, thing to work towards and continue to build on, because I think, she might have a chance in this business one day.
Coach Wardle, we'll get you out of here on 2 Notes. We could talk to you all day. You don't have all day, so we won't
No,
keep you
I'm
all
fine,
day.
guys. We're good. We're good.
One of the things that we were talking about, Coach Watson and I, earlier this week was, man, how good bigs have been this year in the Valley. It's going to be really hard when you talk about all conference voting of exactly, man, who are you going to leave off? You
Right.
can go from Chase Walker to Fred King to Rollins Aligbe having a really good year for the Salukis, Drew Sharnowski at Belmont, who you just
Yeah,
saw
your
the
bigs
other
are
night.
playing well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you go down the line and it's like, man, this has been a real. We know the guards are really good in this league consistently, but the bigs have been really good in this league, to where my turn of seems like Caillou has been playing better for you in recent
hmm
years. Obviously, Jonovich has had his
hmm
really good games as well. How much
hmm
of a challenge it's been for you guys to go, man, embrace the fight, man, because there's a lot of good bigs in the league this year.
Oh, you're spot on. And they know we have a war coming up on Sunday, and a physical battle. Um, but as a competitor, that's exciting. And you worry about losing your bigs, because bigs get plucked in the portal pretty quick. But it also helps you recruit them right back in, because our league does have good big play, and there is size in our league. So the one thing I did not like, we're probably playing too small for me. I've always liked length and size at the 3, 4, and 5, always. And from my Green Bay days to my Bradley days, as soon as we got longer and bigger, that's the way I love to play. Um, and we weren't doing that for a while, and we just started to see our defensive numbers go down and down and down. And so I think having that size on that floor, so having true 5 men is big for recruiting, because everybody thinks they're a guard, Luke. Everybody. I mean, if they could be 6'10", they want to be a 3-man in college, or a 2, and you'll be like, well, our league is big. It is big. It plays big, like some high major leagues. So you can come in and probably play the 4 here and not the 5, where most schools are going to put you at the 5. So having some size in the good bigs, I think, really are the difference maker from our league from other, mid-major leagues. It can really separate us, in my opinion.
And what also I think is a good sign of course, you're one of them in terms of talking about Montana Wheeler and the year he's having. It's going to be hard to put together an all freshman team. And when I say
Yeah.
hard, as in not like, there's been some years, I'm sure you would agree, where it's like, all right, it may be hard to find 5. My goodness. I mean, I almost think you could almost do 3 all conference teams, just the freshman darn
Yeah.
near of how
Yeah.
good the league has been. I know the portal plays an impact in that, but in your eyes, Coach Wardle, how great has it been to just see really good young talent in the league this year too throughout?
Yeah, I think it's what we have to do as a league, is get that top 150 kids, maybe top 100 kids now, that maybe don't want to go to the high majors because they're not going to play a lot, because high majors are now in the portal getting all older kids. So everyone's trying to stay old. So those freshmen get left kind of in the dark a little bit. And so I got some really good ones. Like, I got Matthew Zobers, who's not even playing for me. He's good. Like, I'm super excited for Matthew next year. Like, he can play. He's just behind Alex. who's a fifth-year senior. And, you know, Montana Wheeler, if he was playing 28, 30 plus minutes, he'd be an all-valley point guard as a freshman. I mean, he's that good. He's just backing up. I mean, he plays with Kwani, but he's behind seniors and guys that are really good. So I think Dietrich Richardson's another guy I got that I'm excited about his growth this year, even though his minutes, we've started to find more minutes for him this month. He's gotten better. And so it's exciting for the league, but now we have to retain those freshmen and we got to keep getting them better and developing them. And that's something I love to do. I love to be in the gym. I love developing. I love watching film. And so I think that's going to be our challenge is we got to keep getting these freshmen to become sophomores like Jaquan Johnson did for me. Now try to keep them as a junior and get them a little bit better as a junior too. And then our league can be playing at a very high level if we can do that.
Again, Coach Wardle will get you before SIU plays Evansville later on tonight. So as you look at the Salukis prior to that game, just what has impressed you about Southern defensively this year and why their metrics and everything have shown to be at a really high level?
Well, yeah, I mean, Nagy's got them really guarding all year. I mean, they're long, big. They got great length. They got good athleticism, and you know they switch clean. They're a good switching team that can apply a lot of ball pressure on you at times, and they can alter shots at the rim with their length and size. So I think that's big. I think you're starting to see teams really try to be bigger and longer to become a little bit better defensively because offenses right now are really hard to guard. Everybody's spreading you out. There's a lot of newer actions and rescreens and skip past to flips to grenades or whatever term you want. There's a lot of tough actions. We just guarded Belmont the other night that just they're just running one blade all over the place, back cutting, and it's just nonstop. You can't even really understand their patterns and calls, but it's really hard to guard. And so having that extra length and having that extra size on the floor, I think can really help you cover up some mistakes, and it definitely makes Southern Illinois hard to score on.
You know, Coach Wardle, Rodney always complains I never let him in enough. And as you said, he talks about the questions and et cetera. That's the chemistry we have. So I just want it full blown and shown here that I'm allowing Rodney to really have the green light here if he wants it, but then he probably won't say anything. He'll do that from time to time.
Yeah, my problem is I'm not a good starter and I'm not a good finisher. I'm that middle 20 minutes guy, Brian. Luke's got to understand my talent level. I do understand it.
Ronnie, you know what? You have self-awareness, and that's one of the things we try to recruit, that people that know who they are so they can be a star in their role, right? I love it.
I appreciate your comment about your daughter. Like when I was a kid and I'd be griping about my playing time and I'm about 5'2", and my dad goes, I'd say, Dad, I'm not getting to play. I'm not getting a chance. He goes, man, you never rebound. I'm like, golly, I could have got that from my coach. It's like, give me some help here, brother. That's kind of like, it's like working with Luke. Like my dad left us in 08. Now I got Luke to replace him to be my realistic guy.
Yeah, well, well, it's just little things that she can come to. Like, you know how it is when a teammate's struggling or you're having a tough time communicating with a teammate. Well, go shoot in the morning with her. Like spend time with her, take her out to lunch, talk. Like that's what these young people, they don't do that enough. They're on their phones and so I tell her little tidbits like that might be able to help her. Well, go ask your coach. I don't know. I'm not your coach. Go ask your coach. Go watch extra film. Like,
so you don't you don't call the coaching staff every day like a lot of my friends are doing? Wow, imagine that.
No siree. Wow. And if I did, I'm probably, why are you playing my daughter so much? She's not playing hard enough on defense. She's not guarding well enough. I'm like the opposite probably. So no, it's been fun though. It's fun to see your kids grow up, as you guys know, and watch them find their passion and work really hard at it. And that's all you want them to do is find your passion and, do the extra and put the grind in, put the work in so you can see how good you can get at it.
And for Saluki Nation, for those that want to stick around, you get to see Maya and the Lady Braves right after take on the Salukis, as will be the men first, though, on Sunday in a doubleheader. It'll be a lot of fun. Coach Wardle, thanks so much for taking time. Great to catch up with you, and we look forward to welcoming you here to Banterra on Sunday.
No, I always enjoy it, and thanks a lot, guys. Good luck tonight.
A lot of great intel from Coach Wardle, and appreciate his time for joining us again before the Salukis played Evansville last night on a game day, Coach Watson. So, again, our podcast has gone pretty long today, so I don't want to belabor it here, continuing with Bradley. But this was a game that Damian Mayo mentioned to us last night that it's really personal to him. And honestly, I was glad to hear him say that because like we have described, this is a Bradley program that has really dominated Southern. Heading into this year, they've won 7 of the 10 previous meetings. Southern has not beaten Bradley since 2022. It's been a long time coming. And again, that is a tip of the cap to the guy we just talked about in Coach Wardle and his program and the consistency that they have built. But man, it has been long overdue. The Salukis nearly stole one in Peoria back in December.
Yes, I like you. I was so happy to hear where Damian Head was right after that game. He was happy with the win, felt great about what that was, but it wasn't a relief. It was, okay, here's next. This is a big one, and we know what's coming. It's got 2 days to prepare, and then we gotta bring it. And Bradley, it's not by coincidence. You mentioned it earlier. They take on their coach's personality, and like a lot of us, and especially in his case, Bradley's not for everybody. He as much as said that to us, the recruiting process. I'm not for everybody. This is who I am, and this is what I expect, and I'm not changing. I'm not going to deviate from what I believe in. A little bit that's coach speak, whatever. But by and large, by his demeanor on the sideline, he looks like he's pretty much holding true to that, and it really looks like his team buys into his approach to things. I really liked. We didn't press it, nor should have we, when he talked about what he was looking for in recruits. My staff knows it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to have these things. Whatever those things are, by and large, because of the way he's maintaining his roster over the years, he really gets it. He's bringing in terrific players. 52, but going into this season, in the 10 years he's been at Bradley, he's had 52 Missouri Valley Conference selections. Whether that be freshman of the year, all conference, or different things. I mean, that's a staggering number of success in your recruiting. And like he said, it wasn't like the first couple of years were easy for him when he was building that program under different circumstances. But all that said, it goes back to who's on the court, and with what you said about Damian. Damian knows what he's looking in. He knows what he's going to be looking at on Sunday. He's going to be looking at a very tough, hard-nosed team. And if Southern's going to get a victory, they're going to earn it.
7 straight wins in the series for Bradley. They will try to make it 8 in a row on Sunday, and hopefully we do not have to bring up that number on Sunday for the Salukis. Again, our coverage will begin for you on Sunday at noon with tip-off at 1 o'clock. Again, it is the first game of a doubleheader, Saluki Nation, so keep in mind the Saluki women will play after the Saluki men on Sunday. So stick around and support head coach Kelly Bond White and her team. We're recording this before their game tonight against Illinois State here on Friday. So they'll have the game Friday against Illinois State and Sunday. Come out, support the Dogs. Great opportunity. Like we joked with Damian Mayo last night and Brian Wardle. They're going to have double duty on Sunday, Coach Watson. They'll be locked in and wanting to win their game specifically for their group. And then Damian, of course, with his fiance, India, playing in the game. And then Coach Wardle with his daughter playing the game on. So can somebody give Coach Wardle a ride back to Peoria? So
we got plenty of Salukis to be glad to give Coach a ride. That's the part I forgot to help him out. No, we can get you a ride. No, now, we may take you a little diverted way to get to Peoria.
Yes, there may be that coming on Sunday as well. But we hope you enjoy the fun-filled day of basketball on Sunday, Saluki Nation. So until then, for the Coach Brian Wardle, for the Hall of Famer Ronnie Watson, I am Luke Martin saying so long, Saluki Nation. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Go Dogs!
This has been Saluki Royalty, the official podcast for Saluki Athletics. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review however you listen. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Saluki Sports Network.